Okay, since we have a lot to cover in this session, I'd like to begin. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us in the Access to Space for All Initiative expert meeting. This is our final day of this expert meeting, and it's really nice to have all of you here. So before we begin, just a few announcements as usual. First of all, please use the chat box to ask any questions. Please do not raise your hand. We will not be able to give you a microphone rights. So if you have any questions or comments, please write it in the chat box. My colleague Wenbin will be active in the chat, providing you with useful links and all. And he will also be providing you with the link to our questionnaire. So it's the second bullet there. Please answer our questionnaire before you leave. We would really like to get your feedback on our events. And yeah, we really hope that you would answer that before you leave. And third, last but not least, please use the hashtag Access to Space for All and follow, like, and share UNOOSA to help us promote this event. We are active on all those social media channels that you can see there. So just to go over the objectives of the expert meeting, we have 4 main objectives. The first one is to share and gain insights from successful stories and challenges on capacity building activities. And especially today, we're going over effective outreach. The second part is to discuss how to improve the Access to Space for All initiative. So in this session, we will be talking about effective outreach. We would really like to improve how we do outreach, how we help our awardees and partners maximize the impacts of the initiative. So we would really like to know how to improve. The third point is to bring together the partners, awardees, supporting governments, potential future partners and applicants of the initiative so that we can all come together and create a network and build new partnerships and of course get insights from each other. And last but not least, we really want to raise awareness of the initiative. So the expert meeting has been going on for these past 3 days, and we are in day 3. So the past 2 days, we've gone over the details of each track. We have 3 tracks that are under the initiative: the hypergravity and microgravity track, satellite development, and space exploration. If you're interested in any of the opportunities there, the stories of the partners and the awardees, please go to our website. All of the presentations are there already, and we will publish the recordings probably sometime next week. And as I said, today we are focusing on session 4, effective outreach, and session 5 is lessons learned and way forward. This session 5 is only for partners, awardees, and past applicants. So now, we're focusing on session 4, effective outreach. Just to show you the agenda of today, this is what it'll look like. We will cover the effective outreach session in the first hour and then move on to the lessons learned. So with this, as you can see, we have an amazing lineup of speakers. So with this, I'd really like to already introduce to the floor my colleague, the Communications Officer of UNOOSA, Mr. Martin Stasko. He is the man who has been doing all of our social media and the outreach, and he will give you an overview of what we've been doing and some tips. So Martin, you have the floor.
So it worked now. Okay, super. Thank you, Hazuki. Thanks for the introduction. And thanks to everyone for attending. As Hazuki mentioned, I'm Martin Stasko. I work as the Associate Communications Officer here at the UN Office for Outer Space Affairs. And I've been in this position for about a year and a half, and I have to say that it's been very rewarding, and communicating on space is something that I really, really enjoy. And I have to say it's quite an easy topic to communicate about because it's so inspiring. So today I want to talk a little bit about the power of communicating and effective outreach, when we're talking about access to space for all and also about other activities and projects that we have. It is important that we are not only doing them, but we're also letting people know about them, and so they can benefit from them as much as possible, and so that they can have the broadest reach possible. I would like to start off by just a short slide on why actually we're doing the communication. So what and how is communication? The communication and public outreach and engagement is a very important component in the work of all the organizations, be it private or public organizations, because it is important for all of us to sell our work, if you will, and to benefit the people who are recipients of these messages. So communications help us promote the efforts undertaken, and it boosts transparency, because the more we communicate, the more people know about us, the more people understand about us. And of course, it's important to build trust in organizations like the United Nations. A lot of the projects that we deliver are funded by public money, and so the public has the right to know what we're doing when investing these precious funds that we're receiving from the member states. And then of course communication advances relationships, not only between between the people, between us and the partners, between us and the awardees, but also among the broader audiences that we have. So why are we doing this? It's first of all, we need to provide authoritative information. So the UN is often seen as an authoritative source of information on, be it climate, the state of the environment, state of the population, some economic outlooks. So the United Nations is an important conveyor of these messages. We need to communicate our priorities, be it access to space for all, or through other means, so that people know what we stand for as an organization. Of course, an important role for us is to promote the role of space for sustainable development, and these feeds very closely into the combating misconceptions about space, because oftentimes we still hear not only from individuals and students, but also from the media, why are we investing money in space? And oftentimes it has a negative connotation. So we need to make sure that people understand that investments in space indeed make sense and they bring so much back for all of us. So why should you care? So communications is an important component in promoting the role of space. And of course, the space has been booming in the past few years. We see a lot more engagement from different countries. Until now, I think it's over 90 countries have already launched a satellite, which is great news. And this number has grown immensely in the past few years. But the United Nations has 193 member states. So there is still a huge gap in terms of access to space on both the individual level and the interstate level. So this is something that we need to communicate, that space is booming, but we have a lot of work to do. Another big component of communication is gender equality. So the space sector still only has about 20% of women. So we need to care about communication so that we convey the messages that the space sector is there for all of us and for everyone everywhere. It is still male dominated, unfortunately, but in the future, we do hope that this changes and communications help us, of course, get there. And it's of course important to promote inclusion. So it's not just women participation, but participation of other of marginalized groups in the sector. And of course, closing the gaps together is an important message that we need to convey, because we are all of us are in this together. Because when we communicate space and when we do justice in space, it benefits all of us in the end. So what are the certain avenues that we're using to communicate effectively, especially focusing now on the access to space for all? So our website has a lot of different content, which covers the access to space for all components. Of course, we're promoting it on our front page, which means that anyone that comes to our website can see immediately that we're working on access to space for all. If we have open opportunities, they go to the front page, so that people who go to us and they perhaps don't know about these opportunities, or they don't know about access to space for all, they can immediately see that we have something like this going on, and that we offer opportunities in certain fields, be it microgravity, hypergravity, or satellite development and launch. So there is a special focus on open opportunities. We of course do press releases all the time. When there is a new opportunity, or there is a selected awardee or a group of awardees for a certain opportunity, we communicate this officially through press releases on our website, but then also these press releases get sent by the UN Information Service to the media outlets that we have connections with, and they also go to the UN Information Centers. And UN Information Centers are really essential in helping us grow our reach, because they are the ones established in the member states, and they can communicate, in the native language of that member state, so they can be much more efficient in reaching certain audiences in the particular country. When our access to space for all menu has been updated, it looks really great now, and we have a great repository of course, all the opportunities, but also success stories and past awardees, which is super useful for the upcoming applicants or the potential applicants. You can read about the different projects that were submitted in the past and selected in the past, and they can, of course, get inspired. One of the important things is, of course, reports to the Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. So we are, of course, as an entity of the UN Secretary, we are mandated to report on our activities, and this is done through different documents that get submitted to the committee and then to the General Assembly. Of course, we're also running different activities such as one-pagers on UNOOSA projects. So these are, simple, only one-page documents which give an overview of the different opportunities that we have with the different partners. Social media is, of course, a huge component, not only in our work, but of course in the work of all other organizations. Social media, the different platforms have been booming in the recent years, and hundreds of millions of people are following the different platforms, and so they are one of the most effective ways how to communicate. We've been running in the past dedicated campaigns on the different opportunities, of course, on the openings and on the selection of the awardees. So all the major announcements go out also through social media. And fortunately for us, we're actually seeing that announcements on the topic of access to space for all rank among the top posts. So people are really interested in these topics, which is really encouraging to see. And hundreds of thousands of people have been exposed to this type of content in recent years. So through social media, we're trying to make sure that these news get the widespread coverage. Storytelling is something that we've been pushing a lot in the United Nations as such, because we think it's important to relate the stories not only to the technical component or the scientific component of the projects, which is super beneficial because, of course, we're trying to convey a message that space helps sustainable development, and of course, through access to space for all, we ask the proposals to have some connection to sustainable development goals. So it's important to communicate this part, but we also need to show the faces behind those projects. So we need to make sure that it's not only about what the achievement of the project is, but what the benefits are for the individuals, for the students that are behind it, for the teams that are behind their projects, for the universities, and ultimately for their countries. And yeah, we have an interview series which is called Access to Space for All X SDGs, and this one actually focuses on different opportunities, and we look at the perspectives of the partner organizations or entities, and then of the beneficiaries. And it's such a nice story because it tells the steps and the thinking behind partnering with us, which is very important. And this again can be very useful for new potential partners that we might get in the future to see how the partners benefit from this and what it means for them. And then if you look at the stories from the individuals and from the teams that are behind the selected awarded teams, you can get a better understanding of their thought processes behind pushing certain topics and certain projects. Of course, an important part of the storytelling is this expert meeting, and we will be putting this online on our YouTube once all the sessions are finished. And we had different awardees from our opportunities talking about their experiences in access to space for all. So if you've missed any of them, you can have a look at the program on our website, and then in a couple of days or weeks, all the recordings should be available on the web. We're of course organizing also other dedicated virtual events and webinars where we invite the awardees to speak about their path, how they thought about the application. There are some teams which applied in the past and were not successful, but they've tried to improve their applications and they were selected in the future. So these success stories are very important to massage a certain messaging that you should never give up, because sometimes you progress with your thinking, you improve your projects with through those webinars or through those events, and you can always try and succeed in future rounds. And then of course we try to present it in different presentations on of our personal experience as staff involved in this initiative, and this presentation is part of it, of course. Expanding reach through the media. Of course, the website and the social media component are one of the key components of the work done in terms of communication and outreach of many other organizations. But we need to go beyond. And of course, one of the ways to do this is to promote access to space for all through journalists and media. So one part we're doing this is through the UN press releases, as I mentioned, because this goes to the media outlets that we have close connections with, but also through other means. Oftentimes there are journalists who approach us and who want to discuss different topics that are related to access to space for all. They want to talk about capacity building. They want to talk about the use of space for sustainable development goals. So we're also using these avenues to speak about access to space for all. Last year, we also published a dedicated publication on Access to Space for All initiative, where we looked at the history and the progress of the initiative and the different partners. So this is also one of the avenues. Then we also publish annual reports on the work of the Office for Outer Space Affairs, which of course feature a lot of content that is connected to Access to Space for All. Then we also submit conference papers to space congresses where thousands of people can read them and can potentially, get inspired. Or maybe some of the potential partners read about it and they like the idea of getting involved with us. And so it's an effective way of reaching new audiences. We're also often contributing to international journals and even internal magazines. There is a magazine called UN Chronicle, which has been operational since about 1949. And yeah, access to space for all was also one of the topics that we've submitted a couple of years back to also reach different audiences. So beyond the digital realm, what we can do, of course, connecting digitally is very important because you can reach audiences that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. But beyond the digital efforts, we try to build connections, partnerships, and raise even greater awareness on the spot, doing networking activities and making sure that we talk to people on the spot. So we've organized in the past, and we're also planning a few side events during the sessions of the Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. So the committee starts on the 31st of May, so just in a couple of weeks, and runs until the 9th of June. And we will have side events dedicated to opportunities under the Access to Space for All. In the past, we also organized events during the General Assembly in New York, which also allows us to reach a different audience because, of course, there are delegations here in Vienna, but there are also delegations which do not have a permanent mission here in Vienna. They're located either in Geneva or in New York. So through events in New York, we're actually able to reach more member states than we would otherwise be here locally. And then we also organize press events. The Space Congress is a great example, is the International Astronautical Congress, which is one of the biggest gatherings of the space community that there is. And yeah, we've been organizing press events there, and we had an exhibition booth in 2019, for example, entirely dedicated to access to space for all. So when we look at the future of communicating, I would encourage all of you to let us amplify your content, and then you can amplify our content so we can reach even more audiences. We're of course on all the social media, as Hazuki mentioned before. So we're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we also have a YouTube account, which has a lot of different content in terms of the webinars and events that we organize related to access to space for all, but also covering other topics. And some of the key hashtags that we've been using is, of course, the hashtag access to space for all, which was already mentioned. A hashtag that is important for us is space for SDGs, because we still need to sell why actually space makes sense and why we need to invest in this domain. And then the opportunities themselves, they have their own hashtags, such as hashtag KiboCUBE, hashtag DropTest, hashtag HyperJess. So these are all very useful to increase reach. And of course, if you tag our corporate social accounts, we can see your content, we can amplify it ever so more easily. And how can we help advance your goals and reach in a different ways? On our website, there is a specific item which is called Young Voices in the Space Sector. And this is part of the Space for Youth project that we are running. And we've been looking for voices of young people who speak about their experiences, perhaps their studies, their projects, and how these relate to their careers, and maybe how their story can inspire upcoming students or upcoming researchers. So we're looking for stories all the time up to 35 years of age, and you can submit it. There is a link that I will share in the chat where you can see what kind of requirements there are. And this is also an effective way of how to promote stories from individuals to broader audiences. We also have a Space for Women mentorship program, which is currently running. We've had some fabulous teams and individuals in the past in Access to Space for All, and we've just selected an all-female team, and these are all the stories that are important to sell. As I mentioned before, gender gap is still present in the space sector, and so the Space for Women mentorship program, if there is a future round in the past, of course, it would be great if these individuals were involved and they can help us amplify their individual stories and help create the future, let's say, workforce or the future group of students which can pursue the same path as they did in the past. And then, of course, you're more than welcome to share your stories in our events and workshops. In September, well, 29 September to 1 October, we're actually running the 30th workshop on space technology for socioeconomic benefits, which is focused on challenges and capacity building opportunities for emerging space nations. And this is happening in Baku, and the application period is still open until the 4th of June. And so I would like to take this opportunity to also invite you to consider applying for this workshop. And this is where I would stop. I thank you for your attention, and back to you, Hazuki.
Thank you very much, Martin, for the overview of what we're doing at UNOOSA and ways to engage with us more. If you have any questions to Martin, please put it in the chat. We'll move on to the next speaker, who is Mr. Victor Hugo Ayerdi Bardales from Universidad de Valle de Guatemala. He is the team leader of the KiboCUBE second round team. And he will be talking about the outreach activities that the team did during their Quetzal 1 development and, of course, the project afterwards. So Victor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. I'm Victor Hugo Ayerdi. I'm the head of mechanical engineering department in Universidad Valle de Guatemala. I was the co-director of the Quetzal 1 project. This project was the development of the first Guatemalan satellite, and I will tell you today about the outreach activities we had during this nice project. First, I will tell you about the Quetzal 1. The Quetzal 1 is one CubeSat that was deployed from the ISS in 2020. This was due to being selected as the winner of the second round of the KiboCUBE program of UNOOSA and JAXA. And the mission of the satellite was to design, develop, and operate a CubeSat satellite, testing a prototype of a multi-spectral sensor. The project was also recognized with several awards, as the People's Choice Award of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and also the CubeSat Delivery Initiative Prize of the Arizona State University. So it has been recognized in several events and activities. So we had several outreach activities during the project. Some of them were planned, some of them weren't planned, but at the end, the mix of all of these activities helped us a lot to give all the people knowledge about the project. One of our targets and goals was to increase motivation in children and youth in Guatemala to study science, engineering, to know about space, and all of these activities help us to accomplish that. So the first thing was to set up a web page. We have this web page that is very helpful because when we needed to let the official information about the project, it was easy for us to send the link to the web page. We set up that in Spanish, the language of Guatemala, and English. So this was very helpful, not only in Guatemala, but also with our contacts and people outside Guatemala. Additionally, we had social networks, especially Twitter was very helpful when we were in the operations phase of the project. After the satellite was deployed from the ISS, since the international amateur people were helping us getting the beacons of the satellite, we set up this Twitter page that was very helpful to communicate with all of them all over the world. So it was very helpful. We didn't use a lot of social networks to promote the project, basically due to lack of time, because we were busy with the other outreach activities and developed the satellite, but definitely something that we would recommend. We had a Facebook page at the time, we used it, but not as much as the Twitter that became a very successful way to communicate with people all over the world. We did 3 press conferences during the project and had several press releases when we had milestones. The first conference was in October 2016, and it was to announce that we were developing the first Guatemalan satellite. It was At that time, it was big news in Guatemala. We had coverage in all the media in Guatemala, more than 40 people from media and press in this conference. Also, we had a conference to announce that we were the winners of the KiboCUBE program, and we were signing the agreement with JAXA to send the satellite into space. And finally, we had a third press conference when we announced that our satellite was ready to be handed over to JAXA, almost finishing the project. So these press conferences were a key component of our outreach activities because as they generate a lot of publications in media, a lot of people knew about the project. And that combined with the press releases that for several milestones of the project we prepare and also send to media. We also work workshops in schools, conferences in some companies and events. This was very nice because we were talking to kids about the project. They were very interested in several schools. We had like 2,000 students attending to these conferences where students of the university that were working in the project were explaining about it to kids. We also had a 3D printed CubeSat that the kids can assemble during this workshop in schools. As you see in the left photo, they had the drawings and the pieces, and they had to assemble it. One of the things that weren't planned at the beginning of the project, but was one of the more successful in the outreach activities, was this one that was a series of articles that we published in newspaper Prensa Libre from 2018 to 2020. Actually, they were 55 bi-weekly publications that tell everything about the satellite. For example, we see on screen an article about how the satellite gets its energy. So this was a partnership with Prensa Libre, and they helped us a lot because we gave them the materials, the content, and they set up a nice way to communicate as this infographic. So it was very successful. This helped to send information to all Guatemala what we were doing. It was very nice to tell all the story through these 55 articles, and we combine technical articles with articles presenting, for example, the team that were working in the satellite, the students, what were their programs, their age. So it was very nice. So we had 390 publications that we counted in media, and for the main milestones that were when a SpaceX rocket take the satellite to the ISS, and when the satellite was released from the ISS, this news was in the cover of all newspapers in Guatemala. So it has a lot of impact. When we did all these publications, we realized that it was important also to promote balanced gender using the project for that. We had one article that explained and presented all the girls that were working in the project. And that was one of the articles that had more impact in Guatemala. A lot of people saw it. And after that, we started working on other things, as some workshops and conferences in school, especially for women. Also, we have this Women in Engineering program, which is a one-week workshop that teaches some fields of engineering for middle and high school girls. And we included a module of the Quetzal One in that workshop that we still are running annually in the university. We also had a couple of competitions, one to name the satellite and one to develop the mission patch of the satellite. This also helped us to connect with young people in Guatemala and also let them be part of the project. The competition to name the satellite had 10 finalists, and these 10 finalists were in a votation open to the public through Facebook. So the name was selected by all of the public in Guatemala. In the final phase of the project, when we were in the operations phase, we set up this page in the SatNode network in order that we can present information in real time that we were getting from the satellite with the support of the SatNode network. We receive almost 85,000 data packages, and all the information can be seen in this page. So this was also nice to share with people how we see the data coming from the satellite. So this was open to all of the public. Finally, we published a book in 2021 telling all the story of the satellite. It was very nice to accomplish this after the satellite finishes its operations. We thought that it would be nice, and we had a lot of material to share with people. So we launched this book with support of the university. And next month, in June, we are releasing the hardware of the satellite. So this is basically now in our webpage. We are still doing some tests of links, and we will make the official release that we are releasing the hardware design of the satellite next month. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Victor, for this amazing presentation. It's always amazing to see what you have done through the process, and there should be questions, and I have a lot of questions as well, so we will address them in the Q&A session after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With this, I'd like to invite to the floor our next speaker, who is also a KiboCUBE awardee from the third round, is Mr. Vickram Bissonauth from the Mauritius Research and Innovation Council.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to present to the audience today. So we are the third round winners of the KiboCUBE. I'm Dr. Bissonauth from Mauritius, and more precisely from the Mauritius Research and Innovation Council. Mauritius, small island in the Indian Ocean, about 2,000 square kilometers. And we happened to win the third round in 2018. It was a group of scientists led by myself at the Mauritius Research and Innovation Council, which is an apex body which is advisor to government in all matters pertaining to science, research, technology, and innovation, which we did this venture. And we wrote the program. We went to see international collaborators. And finally, in 2018, we were lucky enough to win the KiboCUBE award. So our first ever CUBE satellite and our first ever initiative in space was thanks to the UNOOSA JAXA KiboCUBE award, and we will never stop thanking them because further to this initiative, everything started to develop. So basically, MIASAT, it was to test a payload on board to take some pictures and then to test a two-way digipeater. The satellite was deployed in June 2021 and spent 10 months in space. And in April 2022, it phased out and burned completely in the atmosphere. Through this project, we were able to build the satellite, build it, test it, and send it to space. And at the same time, we implemented a ground station, very sophisticated, together with a flat sat equipment, which allowed us to do some basic testing. And we have a full-fledged antenna. And today, even after the phasing out of the satellite, we are using the ground station for other purposes, which I will tell you a little bit later. So these are the nice photos taken by MIASAT-1. You see the coast of Madagascar here. This is Iranian line, small island, and Mauritius was part. These are, you see the horizon taken, and this is, I think, yeah, it is Madagascar. So thanks, as part of the KiboCUBE program, there is also a large number of outreach exercise, and the objective was to incentivize young Mauritians to consider space and satellite technologies as future career, because you will this opportunity allowed Mauritius to realize the huge potential which space and satellite technology could bring to the country. And this even led us to think that we could make space and satellite technology as a future socioeconomic pillar. So we thought that we need to invest in our younger generation. That's why, together with a local radio amateur, we helped some 100 students from 12 different secondary schools and 5 universities in Mauritius, and together with the 17 teachers, we trained them how to build a simplified antenna and using sort of locally sourced materials such as aluminum tubes, PVC tubes, etc. And this was a sort of a 1 week full training. And after this, we had several sessions, and these are examples of the photos taken by the students with the antenna. So you see Mauritius here, Réunion Island, and there was a cyclone, and a couple of, I think, days later, you took another picture. These are other pictures that were taken by this simplified antenna. And I must say that this outreach exercise really raised some strong interest amongst the younger generation. So remember, in 2018, before that, we never knew about space, and we never knew even what space can do for us. And all of a sudden, in less than, let's say, 5 years' time, we were 2 feet very deeply anchored in the space and satellite technology. So this opened new avenues. So we thought, yes, we have many friendly countries that could help us. So let's try to see how we can further develop. And thanks to our honorable ministers, who is now the Minister of Technology, the Minister of Information, Technology, Communication and Innovation, who is also has been also given the mandate to develop the space initiative. He managed to get us a collaboration with the Middle East's, I think, most advanced space center, which is the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. And just recently, we organized a live conversation with the Emirati astronauts on board the ISS and the students of the Republic of Mauritius. So you can see the live conversation on our YouTube channels. Just type hashtag MRIC live conversation with the ISS. So you see Dr. Ayerdi, who let our space, our flag float in space. This was followed by some 300 students in Mauritius. These students had the opportunity to interact live with Sultan. They were able to ask questions. We have also some 80 students in Rodrigues and 20 students in Agalega following at the same time live. Just to give you an idea, is this the world map? This is the square is where we are, and these are the islands. So Mauritius here, Rodrigues and Agalega, all these were online at the same time listening to Sultan. So we have asked the students their views and their opinions. Hopefully we'll get that soon and we'll share it on our website. By the way, we have a website called spacemauritius.com. Please have a look and see what we have been doing. So this initiative, the KiboCUBE Award and then the subsequent initiative got the full support of the government of Mauritius. You see the Prime Minister here saying the go-ahead to deploy MEASAT-1. It was back in 2021, June 2021, and our Executive Director, our Chairman, our Honorable Minister, and the Honorable Prime Minister at the deployment. So we didn't stop there. We further to the initiative of the KiboCUBE, we developed, as I said, collaboration with the MBRSC for the we signed a framework agreement, which consisted of outreach exercise. I was just saying about the conversation with Sultan. We also signed an agreement with ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, where we are using their we are using our ground station to track one of their satellites. And so these are the visit of the director of MBRSC and his collaborators. And we are also collaborating with the University of Surrey in UK at the Surrey Space Centre to look into a new project which consists of using satellite data and coupled with artificial intelligence to see how we can use satellite data to track illegal fishing boats in our EEZ. So this is now we are into developing a space vision for the country. So we are working into the space curriculum, trying to see if we could build more capacity. We are enhancing our international collaboration. We are trying to see if we can leapfrog on foreign countries' initiatives. So currently, in that sense, we are looking to see if we can embark on the PHI initiative with the MRSC. One of the sort of a medium-term objective is to see if we could develop space startups, and then the R&D, which we have started with the Surrey Space Center. So this is our team, and I don't know, Hazuki, do I have 2 more minutes or I can stop here?
No, go ahead. Please finish. Yeah.
So this is so as I just told you, again, thanks to the KiboCUBE Award, JAXA UNOOSA KiboCUBE Award, it sort of shed light on a new vision for space for Mauritius. When we started to look, we found out that Mauritius is a sort of a blind spot in the Indian Ocean, where we could leverage on this, our geostrategical position. This reminds me of an old saying when Mauritius was first discovered by the explorers back in the 1500s, I think. They said that Mauritius is the star and key of the Indian Ocean. But lo and behold, now we are proving it that it is the star of the Indian Ocean, and we hope to leverage on that. So this is where we would like to look into satellite tracking using our geostrategic position for launching, for example, ground station as a service. We are experimenting it with the Indian Space Research Organization. And the second part is, as I was saying, the looking into research and development. This is a collaboration project with the University of Surrey, funded by the UNDP Ocean Innovation Challenge. You could go and use and we call it affectionately ARIS. This is a space where we are looking to use different types of space data coupled with AI and try to detect illegal fishing zone in our EEs, illegal fishing boats in our EEs. And this is also, we are getting the collaboration of the Mauritian authorities. Mohammed bin Rashid, we've told you, we've got into the PHI initiative. Now, this is where we are heading. We are looking to international collaboration. We are just starting. We would like to set up our space unit, then perhaps go into policy and laws, because as a small island developing state, we definitely have our word to say, because our position and just like other SIDS, we are unique. So we would and we have been contributing to the different communications around policy and laws, which UNOOSA has been sharing with us. And hopefully one day we will end up in developing a full-fledged space agency, and why not having our space astronauts, Mauritian astronauts, why not? So I think I'll stop here. I've covered all these, and we are now also, yes, final, we are looking to collaborating with the African Space Agency and try to see how we could sort of use Mauritius as a platform to communicate, to connect the African continent and the let's say Asian continent, European, through space, through us. Thank you very much, and I would be happy to take any question. Thank you, Hazuki.
My first question would be to the two teams. It seems that when we do outreach, there's different target audiences. So one I would say is the scientific community where you want to work with them to develop your future steps. There's another audience, which is the general public, and I think this includes the young generation as well, where you want to motivate and get the understanding of how space technology can help. And also there's another maybe separate channel when you talk with the government so that they would support you and let's say maybe give you more funding or promote more on STI. So what kind of outreach do you think is a fit for these different audiences, and what kind of tips would you have for future teams when they do outreach to reach these different target audiences effectively? So maybe, I can first ask, Vickram, go ahead.
I think it is an outreach, and the way we see it in Mauritius, it should involve everybody. Everybody should take part of this outreach. For example, when we saw during the last exercise, when we saw our flag floating in space, I think the message that the Space Mauritius team sent to everyone is take pride in what we have achieved together, because without for example, the government, without the support of ministry, nothing would have been possible. We could not even have received the funding. Without the people, without the younger generation, we would have lost our inspiration. We are doing this for whom? And so the outreach is for everybody. In Mauritius, maybe it's a special case because space satellite technologies were unknown, let's say 5 years down the line. Yes, there might be other our Mauritian diaspora, they are outside, but for us, I think we need, the way we do outreach is we imply the public, we involve the public, involve the students, involve the government, involve the society, so that it's a more concerted way of doing things. Our population is small, 1.2, 1.3 million. That's why it is easy, but I don't know, it might be difficult for other countries. This is my point.
Thank you, Vickram. May I ask the same question to Victor on how you reach these different audiences effectively?
Yeah, I was thinking that it depends also on the situation of the program, because when we started, it was very difficult at that time because we had a very few credibility. So it was not so easy to talk with people that we were doing a satellite because it was the first in Guatemala. So it was like, well, maybe, but it wasn't easy. So after we started with the press conference and the publications in the newspaper, at that point, we also won the KiboCUBE program that helped us a lot to have that credibility that first we didn't have. It was easy to communicate, and I will say that there are three ways. If we are talking with government, it has to be a formal communication with a specific accomplishment that we are looking for. When we are talking with people outside Guatemala in order to establish some collaborations or ask some questions, that help us a lot to develop the satellite because we didn't have the experience. Having our information and our webpage in English helps us a lot to establish those communications. And when we are communicating with young people, with students, I think that is the easy, because they are happy to know, they are eager to know, to establish a way to connect with them, which was this hands-on activity of assembling a 3D printed CubeSat, helped a lot. So that is what I can say.
Thank you very much for the interesting, for the advice. I think it's really interesting information to hear from the teams as well. And I see a lot of questions coming in to the two teams. So to the two speakers, may I ask, sorry, oops, my chat froze for a second, sorry. Okay, so both teams were developing a CubeSat for the very first time. How did you overcome the challenges? Maybe this is more of a technical problem, but also maybe referring also to the outreach. It was your first time doing this activity, so maybe you can talk about the challenges of developing the CubeSat itself, but also doing this outreach, because I think it requires a lot of resources, you know, the time and efforts of your team. So maybe you can share your experience in maybe 1 minute per person. Maybe we can start off with Victor. So the challenges of developing a CubeSat and also doing outreach at the same time.
Yeah, as I mentioned, credibility was one big challenge. The other was getting the funding, because we didn't have credibility, we didn't have funds, so it was difficult to get funds to do this. But my message is that when you want to do something and you are work hard with that and has a team of people that believes that you can do it and you never stop, I think that's the key. It was very hard the first year of the projects because we didn't have all of that. After we had the credibility, it was also difficult because we didn't have experience. So it's like you don't know what you don't know because you are working in something new. But working in a team and also getting the support of all of the people that help us from abroad that had experience help a lot. So these activities, as this workshop and the activities UNOOSA organize are very helpful because you establish contact, and there are a lot of people that also has passed through that experience and is willing to help. We are now very willing to help too because a lot of people help us to do it.
Thank you so much. That's really great to hear that our past awardees are super collaborative with our current awardees and also the future ones. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask the same to Vickram. So what were your challenges technically and also to do all of this outreach at the same time? So also in 1 minute.
Yeah, well, the challenge was COVID. The challenge was we didn't have any clue of how we are going to write a proposal to submit to Kibo. What we did is we wrote to everybody. We were sincere in our approach. We said that, yes, we are from Mauritius. We would like to have some help. We are very motivated. And we wrote to, I don't know, some 20, 30 organizations, and ClideSpace UK readily offered their help. And from down there, it was a people's approach. We had to work through 2 COVID lockdowns, trying to meet all the different milestones. And I think you are aware, Hazuki, and you were also on board. There was also JAXA. It was a full collaboration. It was UNOOSA, JAXA, MRIC, and ClideSpace working together. It was a really people's approach, and fortunately, we had motivated people on board.
Thank you so much, Vickram. Yeah, the partnerships, bringing all the people together. It's really about, as Martin was saying, also the human story, really bringing in everyone to the team. Thank you so much. My final question, I'd like to give the floor to Martin. There were some questions about how UNOOSA collaborates with other other groups, other institutes, and also about each region. They have different languages, they have different social media. So maybe, Martin, I know you addressed them in the chat, but maybe you can elaborate a bit more and kind of close the session for us.
Thank you, Hazuki. Yes, these are all very important questions in terms of the different language versions, different platforms. As I mentioned before, yes, we're already running 4 platforms. We have a YouTube account, we have the website. We're doing quite a lot. I know it's not everything, and we can do more. It's just for the capacity reasons. Essentially, it's really hard to imagine adding new platforms. Hopefully, one day in the future, where we have more capacity in terms of the communications team to have an additional person on board, or someone that can help support with the different new platforms and with the knowledge of those platforms, we could certainly look into that. But at this stage, of course, we're unfortunately not planning to introduce any new platforms, just because we feel that at this stage it's more important to focus on the quality than the quantity. And if we would keep adding new platforms, it would only mean that we would be more fragmented in terms of our approach. But I think it's of course it's very important to reach new audiences, and that's why I'm happy that we can take advantage of the support of the main United Nations team, and also the teams in the United Nations information centers, who help us convey our messages in the different languages of the countries where these information centers operate. So it's definitely a great point, and a great suggestions for the future. But just for the capacity reasons, we're not available to do that now. But hopefully one day we will get there.
Thank you very much, Martin. Okay, with this, we're running out of time, so I will stop the Q&A and just summarize the 3-day expert meeting for all of you for the opening session. So thank you all for joining. I'd like to, it's a happy announcement in the sense that we will be opening a lot of the opportunities that we mentioned in the past 2 days. So as you can see there, Drop Test, HyperJess, and KiboCUBE, these 3 opportunities will be announced online. So we will be doing a hybrid side event during the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space that Martin mentioned earlier. So those dates are actually the dates that we will be having side events. We will put more information on the website and send all of you emails. But these 3 are opening, so if you're interested, make sure to join our side event, and we will have following webinars with that. So please make sure to join us. We have 2 more opportunities that we definitely know will open later in the year. So one is the Payload Hosting Initiative with MBRSC. That will be opened around Q4 of 2023, and also the PNST Fellowship Program with QTech, the Postgraduate Study on Nanosatellite Technology. This will open in Q4 as well. So please stay tuned for these 2. And of course, we might have new things popping up. So please make sure to follow our social media and our website for all the information. And with that, I'd just like to also mention that UNOOSA and the partners will take all the feedback, all the comments, questions that were provided through all of you into consideration when opening a new round of applications. So this is also why we'd like to ask you to answer the questionnaire form that my colleague Wenben has put in the chat box. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them there. We will definitely consider them in the future rounds. And also, UNOOSA will summarize the findings and outcomes of this expert meeting. And we will do a technical presentation, and we will also be submitting a report to COPUS at the end of this month. We will make sure to put these documents up when they are ready on our website. And of course, we'll continue to build new partnerships to provide more opportunities. And as Martin said, we'll definitely explore more ways of advancing the outreach activities. And this was also mentioned by Martin, but we're doing the UNIF workshop on space technology for socioeconomic benefits in September. This is really focused on challenges and capacity building opportunities for emerging spacefaring nations. So I think that would be interesting to all of you here in the crowd. So the deadline for this, the abstracts and registration, is the 4th of June. So please do not miss out, and please take a look at our website on that. Okay, with this, for the closing remarks, I'd like to introduce to the floor Mr. Luc St-Pierre, who is the Chief of the Space Application Section of UNOOSA, to close this expert meeting for us. And Luc, I see you're here. Maybe you can turn on your camera and your microphone. Luke, I can't see you and hear you actually. Is it just me? If everyone can hear him and see him, I'm sorry.
Hear
No,
me?
I
I
also heard. Oh, there
I
we
had
go.
to swap my phone.
Yeah, I
Can
guess
you-
he needs to swap
I can-
devices. That's what I heard.
Okay. Would you
I
like
just-
a minute?
I just swapped to my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear an echo, but yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, strangely enough, I can definitely hear. Sorry for that. Just give me one last second.
Yeah, well, Luke is trying to get his microphone ready. As I
better?
said, yeah, if you can all answer the questionnaire form before you leave, that would be great. Okay, perfect. I see Luke now, and I think we can hear him. So yeah, please go ahead with the closing remarks.
Okay, sorry for that. I ran into all kinds of troubles today with my desktop computer. So I'm now on my phone, which means that my speech, I switch off the computer, I cannot see my speech. So the good thing is to be much shorter. Quickly, I first want to thank the partners and the awardees that have presented the opportunities and presented their experiences. This is very important because those individuals and those entities are also contributing not only to their own initiative, but they're contributing to develop the capacities of awardees, but also of interested parties that want to apply to opportunities. We have developed with them a series of webinars. Most of them are recorded, some are on YouTube. We're bringing more and more tools coming from our own research, but also from those partners. So this is essential for us and essential for the success of the activity. You have seen presentation by different awardees take back a few years. What is to me extremely satisfying as a facilitator is that we now see those winning team coming back with new application, but on more complex project with more advanced proposals. And that's, to me, it's a sign of success. And we know that some of those are receiving new grants. Individuals are getting more visibility, more support. So what we started with one or two opportunities and one or two teams seems like, I mean, really drops in the ocean. But now we're getting into a small pond. It's increasing. And we're going, Asuki just announced a few opportunities. There are going to be more announcements, but we hope to have new opportunities, trying to cover the whole, as much as possible, the whole range of the space sector. So not only small satellite or not only gravity experiments, but other opportunities. And that's coming slowly. COVID has slowed down everybody, of course, but we're getting into a better rhythm, I think. On the other hand, COVID forced us to jump into webinars and online meetings like we have. Gained a lot of experience with our partners doing that. I think we delivered high quality material, and we're going to keep that, COVID or not COVID. We're going to continue to have this format, but we're going to try to come back also as much as possible to on-site activities. I'm trying to work at mobilizing or securing resources in the midterm so that we can focus, for example, on regional activities, on very specific team, having same activities repeated in different regions. That's where we would like to go with the initiative. Because what we want, and that was mentioned by our friend from Mauritius just now, one of the challenge was to take the decision to make an application, how to do an application. And that we see that in every opportunities. And what we want to do with more training, more visibility, more outreach, is to be able to receive more applications and more applications from developing countries, more applications led by entities from developing countries, better quality application, okay? So we want to get to a point where we have too much choice in awarding opportunities. And if you look at the history of some of them, with JAXA on KiboCUBE, we started with about one winner every cycle, which was a year and a half. Now with JAXA, we decided a few years back that once we have enough, when we have enough good application, we can take 2 winners per cycle. This is amazing. The partner accepts to run more experiments at a very high cost for them. So again, that's a big success for us. The next session, which is a closed session between partners and some awardees, is to look how can we improve the initiative, and that's what we'll be just discussing now. We run always assessment evaluation as we go. We want to find how we can improve so that we increase the access, we support better the awardees as they go in developing their project, and we promote their success as much as possible. So that is coming also. It's very much on our radar. So again, without adding my speech, I would like first to thank, finally to thank the team I'm working with, Asuki Mori, Wenbin Sang, that you've heard more this week, but there's also Natalie, who worked a lot with them this last few weeks in preparing this event. And just to show how good the team is, I've been away myself for about 5 months, and we kept, with our partners, we kept launching satellites and doing gravity experiments. So it's an extremely good team. I'm very satisfied of this workshop. I hope you will follow their recommendation and fill up that evaluation form. Again, that is essential for us. So thank you very much. We had a very good number of participants. That's also a sign of success for me, meaning that the number doesn't drop to a small number. It was extremely good, so this is very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Asuki. Sorry for the little delay. I've been struggling with that all day.
Thank you very much for the closing remarks. And with this, yeah, thank you again for joining, and we will end session 4 and the expert meeting, this 3-day expert meeting. Thank you again so much. Please make sure to answer our questionnaire form before you leave. My colleague Wenbin has shared it in the chat. I can reshare it again. I think he mentioned it somewhere in the chat. I know there's a lot of tweets, but I will post it there. And yeah, with this, thank you again. As I said, there is a lot of exciting stuff coming up for Access to Space for All, and of course, UNOOSA in general. So please keep engaging with us. Please follow us on social media. And yeah, we hope to see all of you soon. And yeah, we really hope that you join the Access to Space for All family and become an awardee or a partner, or to engage with us. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.